right, we're live. So we're gonna do a little something different today for the Periscope people. Dan and I usually tape instant analysis after practice, so we're gonna actually record during the Periscope our instant analysis. So we're not gonna take any questions like during it, and then we'll take some questions and stuff afterwards. We haven't tried this before, so bear with us. We're gonna try to do our little instant analysis report. Probably take like 4 or 5 minutes or so. We'll talk about USC football practice, and then we'll take your questions and stuff. So cool, yeah, send us those hearts. We like that. This is Dan Weber's first Periscope too. So all right, this is Ryan Abraham and Dan Weber, USCfootball.com instant analysis from Monday practice, a rare Monday practice. Dan, talking USC's getting ready for Colorado. It's a Friday game, so they've moved all the practices up one day. We're doing instant analysis for the first time on Periscope, so you might see some little comments and stuff in the side box there. So what we're gonna do is record our little instant analysis, and we'll take some questions and stuff afterwards from everyone out there watching the show. So Dan, it's funny, I guess the first thing we can talk about, Clay Helton, someone tweeted me, maybe it was interim coach speak, but said it was one of the best practices of the season. I don't think you felt the same way.
Well, I guess he was grading on the curve, I think, because they don't have much time to get ready for a Monday practice. So I guess comparing it to what it would normally be, on Monday, this is better than what they normally do. I just thought, they were trying to get up to speed, and they went hard. I mean, the 9-on-7 run period has become the real focus of practice now, because this has become a run team, and they've become a stop the run team. And so when they get going, and so that I thought they went after one another pretty much, considering they're in. As Stuart Cravens called it after Saturday's game, he said, this is, as far as practice, this is no pads November. And they were, again, just shoulder pads, shorts, and helmets. But they did some hitting in the run session. And I just think, it's just Monday. And Monday is not a day where you're used to putting in essentially the Tuesday practice.
Yeah, so they didn't actually have full pads on Tuesday last week going to Arizona, playing against Arizona, certainly a physical team that likes to run the football. Colorado really is the same thing. Any kind of concerns there, not having padded practices again?
I don't know. Is there a cumulative effect, week to week? I think that's one of the things, one of the reasons they really should pay football coaches big bucks, because that's really a hard call to make as to where are we and what do we have to do to continue, because they're going to continue playing physically. So you don't want them to, leave it on the practice field, but you also don't want them to, maybe be ready, not quite be ready, like maybe Saturday when they really weren't ready in the first quarter. But you want them to be able to finish strong. So it's, you're flipping a coin in some ways as to which way you choose to go.
Maybe get a little health injury update. We saw some guys here that looked like they're going to play in the game, but they weren't really doing a whole lot of practice.
Yeah, I think they were running, and I think we saw, for example, Cameron Smith. We found out last night that he did get a right shoulder, issue that they're MRIing today. Didn't expect to see him in pads. He was in pads and didn't have a yellow no contact jersey on. So, but he looked like he's got something that got limiting the mobility in that right arm. Juju was out there running patterns and doing all the other stuff. Just wasn't in team stuff. Wasn't in any place where he could get, any kind of contact injury. Same with Trey Madden. They're still having him mostly observed. They said he felt a little better, telling him, we need you up, to be really healthy, or we can't run you at the end of games, and when you're trying to preserve the lead. So they're doing some player management. Leon McQuay was out running today, and Jonathan Lockett, both who missed the game. Jonathan with a groin, and Leon with a knee. Both of them in pads and look like they're going to be ready to go this weekend.
One of the big names that everyone was talking to, I guess he had the biggest crowd around him, was Ronald Jones, the true freshman running back. There was actually some of the other running backs like Cedric Ware and Justin Davis were kind of watching everybody interview Ronald Jones. What did he have to say? Everyone was talking about him today.
Well, it's interesting. Ronald said, Clay's been talking about that horse kick or that, just whatever. And he said nobody ever talked to him about it before. It wasn't something that he said, basically they just want him to, as Coach Nansen said, keep his feet moving and move him fast and just keep running. Just keep, it's like the most basic thing I think you could tell a running back is just keep running. But he really does keep running in ways in which he's got power and with his lower legs that an explosiveness and acceleration that he just seems to run through tacklers' arms or hands or whatever, and he just keeps running. And all of a sudden, he's through the second level, and then they're like, uh-oh, here he comes. Where's he going? And like the players were, Stephen Mitchell was downfield blocking, and he said, heck, he was juking me. He said, I didn't know which way he was going. He said, they're all pretty much amazed by him, and he's so down to earth, and he's just, such a, typical freshman. I mean, this is great. Let's just keep doing it and working on the stuff they need him to work on. He caught the pass for a touchdown.
He did.
But he's just kind of one of these aw shucks kids. He grew up, it's interesting, and here in a suburb of Dallas, he grew up a USC fan. He said, Reggie Bush, I knew all about, and he's like 8 years old, probably when Reggie was playing. But he said he grew up a USC fan.
177 yards was a freshman record for a single game, breaking Lendale's record. He had a shot at Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. They gave it to Luke Falk, who had 500 yards passing, so I guess you can understand that, but pretty good one there. All right, so that's our normal instant analysis. We're going to wrap it up. Now, if you have any questions and stuff from the Periscope, we'll answer those as well. So you can just kind of type in your questions, and we'll answer some at the end of our little instant analysis show here.
Actually, I did. I was able to read a couple of those early
okay. What were some of the questions?
And there were first one was, how's Juju doing?
Okay.
So we can talk about that. Juju, if you didn't know and you weren't paying total attention, you wouldn't know there's a problem with Juju. He's out there, he's running. He wasn't doing the one-on-ones where you could get tangled up with a defender. Wasn't catching all the the hard passes and all that. But he's so in the middle of everything that's happening, you really don't notice that. Oh, he may be injured. And the way they tape up that that wrist and hand, you absolutely would not know this is a kid with a fracture who was just operated on a week ago.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way of knowing that. But he comes out and he's normal as can be, which is, again, kind of amazing.
And what's is Trey Madden falling off the workload?
Well, they talk about they've got to manage his knee, and if he's not healthy, then he can't do any work in game. So, again, they're trying to, get him. They're treating him as if he were, an NFL player, and kind of, you go from game to game, and whatever you have to do between those, you just trust them that they'll be ready. Now, if you have an issue like the exchange problem, people say, uh-oh, is he not getting enough work? Just on timing, if nothing else. And so again, that's one of those balancing acts that you gotta figure out how to pull off. You gotta give him enough work. You gotta give him enough work up to full speed, and yet you don't want him pounding so much that by the time game's here, he's not able to help you. So it's an interesting management issue, and I think they've been talking to him a lot about it, and they felt like today was a little better, and that they're going to give him more work this week.
We had a question that came up a couple of times. Has Jake Olson got to see the field this year?
No.
During a game, yeah.
No.
He would know if he was in there.
No,
it would be a big deal.
No, yeah, it'll be a really big deal. He was today. One of the visitors at practice was Pat Hayden, and his first visit was with Jake. So he and Jake, while team was doing the pre-practice calisthenics and stretching and all that, Pat was talking to Jake. Jake, is on the sidelines when they do those things, and everybody talks to Jake. I mean, that's one of the great things. He's he may not be able to see what's going on, but he gets to be part of so much because he's always got somebody at his side. He's always got somebody talking to him. He's always engaged, and so that was. But anyway, that's where Pat started at practice today. We were a little surprised to see Pat hasn't been able to make it to any of the last 4 games, but he got here to practice today.
One of the other questions was how Jalen Green, Deontay Burnett, and the tight ends. Why are they not getting involved in the offense more? It seems very Juju centric.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think there's such a, and the problem with that is if you say, you can't do that. Well, they can and they are. I mean, he was out there and you say, well, you can't throw it. First play, he catches the ball, extends that left hand, gets a one-handed left-hand catch. Then he gets the 72-yard touchdown pass that basically gets him back in the game. So it's hard to say, oh, you can't do that, because they are doing that. But the other part of that is, how do you get the ball more, to Deontay, to the tight end? So
yeah.
I was talking to Taylor McNamara after practice, and he said, we're working on it, trying to convince him to throw us the ball.
Yeah.
And he's not sure now. I asked the question a couple of times, do they have the ability to, check to a tight end pass? And Cody kind of said they did. Clay kind of said they did. Taylor said he didn't think they did. They could. So we're kind of, in the middle there. I mean, that used to be one of the old staples. If people came up and loaded the box, USC run play action and, roll and throw it to the tight end. So maybe we'll see more. That Clay seems to indicate you're going to see more of that, but, we'll see.
Is it true that Ronald Jones is the co-starter this week and is a permanent? I didn't look at the depth chart.
Yeah, it was co-starter. It was or. He made it to an or. Yeah, and I would think that's going to stay.
I'm guessing Justin Davis will get the first carry, though, just kind of like this last game. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, and again, I think the conditions, and they're all happy because the Notre Dame game, it started probably in the high 40s and finished up about 31, and that's exactly what the conditions are supposed to be in Boulder. During the day, like at 5 o'clock, it's going to still be in the 40s, and by 10 o'clock, it's going to be 31 or so. So they feel like they've at least gone through that at the Notre Dame game, so they're a little happy about that.
There was one question about the players' morale towards Clay Helton, Coach Helton.
Oh no, I mean, you can't, they just absolutely love him. He just, they just truly, he says what they want to hear, and he said what they needed to hear. He's a calming voice. He's a really positive, voice. I don't think it's, one thing here and something else there. I don't think he's a guy that gets frustrated a lot. I think I think it helps, I think in his case, that his dad was a long time, college and pro coach, and I just think he comes out of a tradition that these guys needed to hear from, I think. And he's the guy that they really, I mean, you're hearing more after games that they're playing for him to get the job. We didn't hear that right away. I think we're hearing that now from players that, they understand that one of the, the byproducts might be the fact that he gets at least serious consideration for the job if they keep winning.
Let's wrap it up. We did have one more. Someone asked about Antoine Woods. Will he be able to keep the pressure up in the following weeks? I don't know.
I mean, I think, that was a remarkable leap from where he had been the first day game, to Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just doing things. He was, everywhere. He's excited about it. He was one of the last guys when Pat was leaving the field. He and Antoine were going back and forth, and Antoine talks to everybody. And I think Antoine there's something about him that's different. He's just way more engaged and way more upbeat, and he was way more active. I mean, he was doing things we have not, and some of that, whether that's individual stuff or they've really been encouraged, he just looked like a different player out there. I mean, and we always thought that he had, the ability to do some of those things, but we haven't seen it. We think we probably will.
Yeah. We had one real quick one. How's Stuart Craven's thumb? He's fine. He didn't practice a ton today. He got there out towards the end. Shotgun and I were watching, and it didn't seem like he was getting any team reps, but he got it towards the end. He got in there. Yeah,
I walked out right behind him the other night, and he had a really fairly small bandage on. Today it was a, significant, to get him through practice, it was a significantly larger, bandaging up. But, if he could go out, with a kind of small bandage after the game, it's probably, he just said, a couple of stitches. We don't know exactly what those numbers are, but he certainly didn't seem limited in any way. Just, he got a cut on his thumb, but I think he'll be fine. He probably needs a little bit of the time off.
Yeah, he tweeted out the stitches. It was kind of gross.
Yeah, I missed that.
It was pretty good. All right, well, this was our first experiment with Periscope during instant analysis. So hopefully this works out well. We're going to try to upload it to uscfootball.com too. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks for all the questions, everything. For Dan Weber, this is Ryan Abraham. Check out uscfootball.com for more.